All right. Hello, everyone. Happy, what day is it today? Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today again in our community as we go through another live training topic. And today we're going to be talking about how to overcome weight loss plateaus. So sorry for my delay here. I have to hook up like my Zoom and connect it to Facebook. And there's like this whole process that happens when we do that. And so it always takes, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to connect than others. So I apologize for being a few minutes late. But for those of you that are watching me live right now, please say hello in the comment section. Let me know you're here so I don't feel like I am talking to myself. We just had an amazing day on Saturday. What we did is we did a live in-person workshop on Saturday. It was called Learn to Lift, and it was an exclusive workshop that I did. Hi, Val, and Val was there. Actually, Val was there. It was great to meet you in person, Val. And it was an exclusive workshop that I did. It was only offered to our community. So if you were in my Facebook group or on my email list, you were able to come to this live event. Or if you were one of our clients. So we offered it to our clients first, filled up spots with our clients, and then we then went to our community next. So what this workshop was about was teaching these women how to lift. And what we did is we went through all of the compound movements. So we did squats, variation of squat, which is a lunge. Then we went into deadlifts, hip thrusts, presses, so shoulder press, chest press. And then we went into the pull movement, so press movement, and then pull movement, which is rows. And we reviewed all of them. We got a chance to watch everybody do them, correct some form and technique as best as we could. But it was always, I really love doing in-person events because I'm an online coach, and I do see a lot of you through, Zoom and through a lot of the lives that I do, or I see your little face on your Facebook profile or Instagram profile, but I don't get to see a lot of you in person. So it was really nice to connect with everyone. And the feedback that we got is that, they really loved the event. They got a lot of education out of it. They want us to run it again. So we will most likely be running this again. I'm not sure how soon, maybe in 4 months, maybe in 6 months, depending. I think, we'll probably do it in the spring when weather is a little bit better and it's easier for people to commute. But thank you everyone that came out. And today we are going to go through, weight loss plateaus. So, that feeling, you're doing everything right, you're sticking to your diet, you're working out, but you're still not seeing results. Then all of a sudden progress stops, okay? How many of you have ever experienced this? I hear this from so many women in the community that feel really frustrated because they've hit a plateau. And today I want to explain why that happens and what we can do about it and give you some actionable steps in terms of how we help our clients, first of all, avoid weight loss plateaus, but also examine what is actually going on and if it is in fact a weight loss plateau. So if any of you have experienced a weight loss plateau, comment me in the comment section below. Let me know if this is you or if you have experienced it before in the past. So let me talk about what is a weight loss plateau. So it's basically when your body stops making progress because most of the time what's happening is your metabolism has adapted to your current energy balance, okay? So our bodies are always adapting to the signals we are sending it. And if you've been at a consistent calorie intake for a while, whether that's a deficit for fat loss or even at maintenance, your metabolism will adjust accordingly. And so when this happens, progress slows or even stops, okay? So your metabolism will always adapt to the energy input and output. So energy input is your calories. Energy output is the amount of exercise and movement that your body does daily. So what ends up happening when we diet is that originally, let's just say your maintenance calories is at 2,000 calories, okay? But then you go into a calorie deficit. Maybe your deficit is 1,600 calories. You stay at that 1,600 calorie deficit for a while. Well, now becomes your new maintenance calories, okay? Because your body and your metabolism now adapts to that. And so what ends up happening is that this creates a weight loss plateau, because now the 1,600 calories is no longer a deficit for you. It's now become your new maintenance calories, okay? And so basically what ends up happening is that when our bodies our metabolism adapt to the lower amount of calories that's coming in, it makes fat loss a lot harder because your body is working to hold on to its energy stores, okay? So a lot of times, the solution that you guys think need to happen is like, well, I'm just going to drop my calories down a little bit lower. But what ends up happening is a lot of times when we try to do that, it often backfires, okay? We often see that the body still doesn't respond even if we're dropping calories a lot lower. Or what ends up happening is that it becomes very hard to maintain that low caloric amount, and we end up doing a lot of binge eating and things like that. So if you have been eating too little for too long, your body simply can't cope. It goes into stress mode, especially when paired with intense exercise, lack of sleep, or too much cardio. And what happens next? Your body holds on to fat because our metabolisms are like stress barometers. So the more we stress out our metabolisms, the more our metabolisms will fight back, okay? Particularly, we will start to hang on to belly fat. Our energy levels are going to drop, and you may feel more irritable. You may feel more foggy. You may, like the fat loss phase becomes really miserable. This is important because elevated cortisol, which is your stress hormone, can disrupt your sex hormones, leading to a hormonal imbalance, making weight loss even harder, and increasing those frustrating menopausal symptoms like mood swings, cravings, and also belly fat, okay? So the first thing that we need to assess is, are you actually in a plateau? Okay, so before we go to like, oh my God, I just need to slash my calories or increase my exercise, we need to actually assess if you're truly in a plateau. A common mistake that I see many women make is that they think they've plateaued, but in reality, they're not being as consistent as they think they are. So we have to look at a few things. So the first thing that I always ask, even when working with our clients, is, are you accurately tracking your food? Are you weighing your food consistently? How many restaurant meals are you having throughout the week? And if you are in a fat loss phase, weighing your food is critical. We cannot skip this part, because guessing how many calories you're consuming, it sets you up for failure, because you're not really accurately in that calorie range, and then you just become frustrated. But the reality is that you're not being consistent with how many calories you're currently at. So the first thing is that, are you weighing your food with a weigh scale, as opposed to like, okay, I'm going to track like this 1 cup of like strawberries. Okay, well, is that strawberries, chopped strawberries? Is it whole strawberries? And because that's really a big difference. Okay, if you have chopped strawberries, it's going to be more volume as opposed to whole strawberries. And the chopped strawberries are going to weigh more, which means that it's going to be more calories. Okay. So the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, are you accurately tracking your food? Are you weighing your food? The second thing is, how many restaurant meals are you having? Now, I'm not saying you cannot go and eat at a restaurant, while you're in a fat loss phase. But when we're in a fat loss phase, we do want to be consuming as many home cooked meals as possible so that we can track as accurately as possible. So in a fat loss phase, you want to do like one free meal a week. If you can pick a meal at a restaurant where they actually provide you calories and macronutrients, that would be best because you can pre-track those meals. But when you're going to a restaurant that doesn't have that data or information, then you're just kind of, I guess, estimating. And sometimes that estimating, what it does is it actually gets you out of that calorie deficit and you're no longer in a calorie deficit, which you're just going to be at maintenance calories. And then again, that is going to really hinder your fat loss, okay? So first of all, we want to ensure, like, are you actually eating the amount of calories that you think you're consuming? Interesting study found that those who track their food and weigh their food are far more successful at losing weight compared to those who are not. And we are actually, like, when we actually very grossly underestimate how many calories we're consuming when we're not tracking accurately. Like, they actually did a study where they asked people, like, why do you think you're not losing weight? And they had all these reasons why they think they were losing weight. And then they asked them, like, how many calories do you actually think you're consuming per day? And they were like, yeah, I'm tracking my food. This is how many calories I'm actually consuming. Then they brought these people into a lab. And when they started counting their calories and tracking their calories and macros and stuff like that, like, some of them were eating 1,000 calories more than what they were actually reporting. That is huge. And I think this is like a big issue when it comes to fat loss. Like, we're really missing the boat here. It's not just about calories. We also want to make sure that we're getting enough protein, and that essential macronutrient is essential for fat loss. But you can see here that without tracking, we can grossly underestimate how much food we're actually consuming. And with that as well, too, is, like, I always talk about BLTs, like those extra bites, licks, and tastes, like, are you eating food off of your kids' plates? Are you, grabbing things from the cupboard and shoving a few crackers in your mouth that you didn't track? Are you having a handful of nuts, which are really high in calories? Are you estimating a bowl of chips to be 200 calories when it's actually 500 calories? Okay. So these extra bites, licks, and tastes can really add up. So we want to make sure that we're, like, taking a look at that. And then we also want to be looking at other things going on as well, too. Like, are you sleeping well? Because lack of sleep or poor sleep can affect your metabolism, which can affect fat loss. Are your stress levels high? So if you're not managing your stress properly and stress levels are really high, you could be retaining a lot more water. This can also get in the way of your body's ability to lose body fat. Are you going through a lot of, like, hormonal fluctuations as well, too? All of these things need to be assessed in terms of what's actually going on. And what you can really do with this part here is look at your biofeedback markers. So, am I sleeping well? How's my stress? How's my digestion? How's my exercise performance? Like, am I losing strength in the gym? Are my energy levels going down? These are all really indications that, like, there are other things that we need to be looking at. And so we really want to look at, like, let's answer these questions first and see what's going on. The other thing that we want to be looking at is, are you making progress? Like, are you only looking at the scale as a way of making progress? Because you could be making progress and not realizing it, because your only data that you're looking at is the scale. And ladies, I cannot stress enough to you, the scale is not going to give you the whole picture of what's actually going on. So, sorry, Val, I'm looking at your comment. Not even close. When I started weighing everything, not just protein. Okay, what do you mean by that? Like in terms of like how much calories you thought you were consuming compared to when you started weighing everything? Just pop that in the comment section. I'm just curious what you mean by that. So I cannot tell you so much. Like the scale is not going to be the main factor of whether you are actually making progress or not. Now, if you're doing this right, now you can go back and look at my training that I did last week about the fat loss cheat sheet for like women over 40 and how to actually lose body fat. If we are focusing on losing body fat, which means we are preserving as much lean muscle as possible, we might not see movement on the scale, because a lot of times what's happening is that we are creating a body recomposition. We're losing body fat but gaining lean muscle, and this has happened so many times with so many of our clients. Like they may lose 10 pounds, but they lose like 26 inches. They're smaller, they're like fitting into smaller sizes, but the scale, like we don't see a lot of movement on the scale, and that's because we have done a proper body recomposition. So you want to be looking like, is my waist getting smaller? So if your waist size is getting smaller, and actually this is what one of the things that we like to track is waist size, because majority of our fat is being carried within our waist, especially if you're a woman over 40, we tend to carry more belly fat. So if you are actually losing inches within your waist, that means you're losing body fat. Okay? So are your clothes fitting you a lot better? You know, are you feeling more stronger? Are you feeling more energetic? Do you notice that you're like gaining lean muscle on your body? Like, do you look more toned? Do you look more defined? Like, how does your body look? The other thing that you need to look at is like take pictures. I know a lot of us don't want to take those photos because in the beginning, I get it. Like when you're not comfortable in your body, you know, the last thing that you want to do is actually take photos. But we do encourage our clients to take photos, because when we start seeing the body composition changes, when we put those photos side by side, our clients are like, wow, I can really notice the changes in my physique. And that's a lot of motivation to say like, okay, like maybe you only lost 5 pounds on the scale, but like, look, you've lost 12 inches on your whole body. That means you've actually lost body fat. Because there is a difference between losing body fat and losing weight. Like I was just talking to somebody just before I got on this call. You can lose weight, okay? Meaning that all you're focusing on is that number on the scale. But if you are not prioritizing your protein, and if you are losing more than a pound per week, guess what, ladies? You are losing muscle mass. And that is the last thing that we want to be doing, because when you lose muscle mass, you are slowing down your metabolism, you're affecting your metabolic health, and you know, you're affecting your body composition. Like I don't think we want to lose weight and look flabby. We want to lose weight and we want to look toned and defined. And if we're losing muscle along the way, which when we're doing extreme caloric restriction, that is what's going to happen. And so you can go back and watch my training video from last week about, and you can search for it in the group. The training was called Cheat Sheet for Fat Loss for Women Over 40. Okay, you can go back and watch you can go back and watch that video. Okay, so when you hit a plateau, your instinct might be to cut calories even more / carbs, or even increase your cardio. But remember, this can backfire. Dropping calories too low for too long causes your body to hold on to body fat. It slows down your metabolism. It like I said, you lose muscle mass, which is affecting your metabolic rate and your metabolism, which also makes maintaining that weight loss or fat loss a lot harder. And also your biofeedback markers, like your body doesn't like it. When you drop your calories too low, what ends up happening is that your body slows down any processes that take up a lot of energy to compensate for that. So this is why your mood gets disrupted. This is why you're hungry all the time. You may be cranky. You may be feeling exhausted because you don't have enough energy coming in. Instead, you want to avoid adding stress on top of this. If you're feeling poor, like if you're feeling like shit, cutting calories is really not the solution. It will only push you further away from your goals, and it'll make weight loss and fat loss a lot harder. Okay. So if you've determined that you're truly in a plateau, what can you do next? Okay. The first thing is that, what you could do, what we suggest is taking a dieting break. Okay. Taking a dieting break and eating at maintenance calories for, like, you could do a week, or you can even do a few months. Okay. And what you want to be doing is spending that time to build up your metabolism back up again. This will help you rebuild some muscle mass. So if you've done it the wrong way, where you're slashing calories too low and you've lost a lot of muscle, then taking this dieting break and reverse dieting back up to maintenance will help you build up some of that muscle, will get your energy back up again, and it'll also build up your metabolism again. Okay. So that is really what we suggest that you do. The other thing is that we want to make sure that we're eating enough protein. So, like, you want to be aiming for at least 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of ideal body weight. So you might want to bring up your protein intake. Protein, we know, burns more calories compared to carbohydrates and fats. You have that like thermic effect of feeding. And we also want to ensure that we're preserving and maintaining that muscle mass. So how do we do that? We've got to make sure we're eating enough protein in our diet, and we have to make sure that we're strength training with progressive overload training. But the main thing that we recommend for plateaus is stop dieting. Okay, remove that stress from the body, go back to maintenance calories, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, or like if you've been dieting for a long time, like more than 12 weeks, then your break needs to be for at least 3 months. But when we help our clients go through a fat loss phase, we take frequent dieting breaks. So every 8 weeks or 12 weeks, we take a dieting break, or we purposely put in a dieting break that aligns with a vacation, holidays, whatever is coming up, so that they can eat more food. We avoid this metabolic adaptation that happens when we're dieting for too long. And we also give them an opportunity to remove that stress from their body, which will, get their metabolism to adapt. Our metabolism is always adapting. So whether you choose to do this on your own or work with a coach, when we work with our clients, we're always assessing those biofeedback markers that are going to tell us ahead of time that we're heading towards a plateau. So we do what we can when we're working with our clients to ensure that we're not hitting these plateaus ahead of time by taking frequent dieting breaks. We're also assessing, all the other biofeedback markers and making sure that we're not adding a lot of stress to the body strategically through our strength training, how our clients are sleeping, and overall stress reduction as well too. Okay. The most important thing is that you need to be patient with yourself. I think the one thing that I see, like, you guys want quick fat loss, and it's just not the right way to go about this. Like, we tell our clients 0.5 pound to 1 pound per week is sustainable fat loss. Okay. And you need to set realistic expectations. I talked about this last week as well too. But we have been conditioned by this crazy diet culture to expect instant results. But here's the thing. How long did it take you to put on the weight? You didn't put on 20 pounds in 2 weeks or even a month. Okay. If you did, then, there's something that had happened that had done that. It's probably a lot of water retention or something going on hormonally. But we see a lot of these ridiculous diets out there that are completely unsustainable. a lot of fad diets like Dr. Bernstein, Jenny Craig, like these things that promise overnight fast weight loss results. But guess what? Like, what happens afterwards? A lot of these people gain the weight back afterwards. And then what happens is that they are, for that number on the scale, they are losing a significant amount of muscle mass, and they're ruining their metabolisms. And then when they go to gain the weight back afterwards, the 80% of that weight that they put on is fat. So now they're even fatter than when they started the diet. And this really pisses me off. And the reason why these diet people do this is because they want you going back to their program. Well, it's not a good program if you've lost the weight and gained it back afterwards. You got to do a program that is sustainable, that teaches you how to maintain this, that is part of your life. You know, it's a lifestyle change. So the other thing that you want to ask yourself is, like, be patient. Have you really given yourself enough time? Like I saw somebody saying, like, yes, I've seen progress, but it's slow. Well, what are our expectations? Like, do we think we're going to lose 5 pounds in 1 week? That is not realistic. Realistic, sustainable fat loss is 0.5 pound to 1 pound per week. That is the reality. It took me over a year to lose 50 pounds. So I was within that range of 0.5 pound to 1 pound per week. But guess what? I didn't gain the weight back afterwards. I kept it off. Okay. I look fit, toned, and defined. I have muscle on my body. I don't look skinny fat. So sometimes we're really focused on immediate results and we forget that real progress takes time. And you have to really trust the process and let your body adapt. So I want to give an example. Like my girls take vocal coaching lessons. And the beginning of this year, no, sorry. I'm trying to think here. Yes, it was the beginning of this year because we're in October now. My daughter was working with her vocal coach to hit a high note. Okay. Just one high note. She practiced the same song week after week after week after week. She practiced at home, the same song over and over and over and over again. Now, did me and her coach tell her to give up because she didn't hit that high note after her first month of not hitting it? No, we did not. We encouraged her to keep practicing and to give it time. And eventually, 5 months later, she finally hit that note. But also along that process, she also developed a lot of other skills in her singing as well, too. What would have happened if she had given up after a month, that she didn't hit that high note? She would have never have hit it. And so you have to give yourself the same type of like advice that we would give our own children. And that's the advice that we give our clients, is that like, you got to keep practicing. You got to be patient. You got to be consistent. You got to give yourself time. You are not perfect, so don't expect to be perfect on this journey. It's all about progress, not perfection. And when we're dealing with the metabolism and its ability to quickly adapt, you really need to assess what's going on and pivot when needed. And that's, well, whether, you work with a coach or on your own. So you might be frustrated because the scale isn't moving, but when you realize, you've actually dropped pant sizes, looking at these other non-scale victories, you realize you actually have made progress. It's not that you've plateaued. So we really got to look at the whole picture and assess what's really going on. And understand that these, quick fix fad diet approach in the past, maybe you lost weight quickly, but felt miserable and gained it all back. It's not really worth it because you end up in a further position than you were when you first started. Okay. So fat loss phases can be challenging, but they're much better done in a short period of time. Like I said, like those 8 to 12 week periods, we take frequent dieting breaks. This really helps keep your hormones in check. not only your sex hormones, but cortisol and also ghrelin and leptin hormones, all of responsible for helping you feel full and satiated. But the main key takeaway here is that plateaus are a normal part of fat loss. Don't panic. Assess what's going on, and focus on your overall health, and really understand that long-term sustainable fat loss takes time. And if you are missing out on this biggest piece, which is like, am I actually tracking and weighing my food? That is the first place you want to go. And then if you actually feel like you're in a plateau, then you need to take a dieting break, is what we talked about. Okay. So let's go back to the comments question. Okay, so Val, yeah, you were saying that example, quinoa, half a cup isn't the calories I was tracking. Yeah, like you go with also half a cup of cooked quinoa compared to uncooked quinoa are very different in calories. So, Val's a prime example. She thought she was eating a certain amount of calories, but when she actually started tracking and weighing her food, she's like, big eye opener. She was actually eating more than what she actually thought she was eating. So I'll just open it up to questions. Do we have any questions? Val, do you have any questions? I'm not sure who else is watching here right now, but if you have any questions or you're watching the replay, please comment in the comment section, or you can just send me a message as well too. If you have any questions, you can individually message me. But yeah, I hope this was helpful in helping you navigate weight loss plateaus, or actually figuring out whether it is in actuality a weight loss plateau. I will be back next week. Let's see next week when our next live training is. Next week at 12 p.m., we're actually doing our challenge wrap-up call. And I'm going to be talking about how to dine out and still lose body fat, how to navigate dining out and still lose body fat. I'm going to teach you guys how to do this. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are part of the challenge, we're doing our check-in call tonight at 7 p.m. and hope to see you all then. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.